Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2017 Hustings. Special thanks this evening to Macmillan Adam, who are providing the video for this evening. This year we only have one position that's challenged, that is the position of chairman. John, you talked about leadership. You talked about the need for leadership within the BBG, but also enabling the talent that is within the committee and the office to support your leadership. You talked about the voice of authority for the BBG in the UAE and how it's important that the BBG needs to be front and center and be representative of British business in the UAE. David, you talked about how important it is that we have those trade relations. We're bringing the UK to the UAE, Milton Keynes being a key example of how we're doing that, and a model that's now attracted Cambridge Business Council to ask us to help them as well. You talked about the team as well, but in the sense of them being talented and them being able to continue to do the job that they're meant to be doing, and delegating to them rather than micromanaging. And finally, you talked about the fact there's still an awful lot more to do, and that you really want to enable yourself to have another year to ensure you leave behind the legacy that you want to leave behind. Ladies and gentlemen, questions?
I'm from Motivate Publishing. I'm actually stepping down as events director on the committee this year. This is my question to John. Obviously, I'm stepping down due to obviously work commitments, but obviously a conflict of interest working at Motivate Publishing, and obviously Links is one of the platinum sponsors as well as Motivate Publishing. So I want to kind of find out from you, and obviously your opinion on being on the committee as chairman. If you are elected, how do you find by being chairman as well as Links being platinum sponsors as well?
Thanks, Camilla. That's a really interesting question. And I think the first thing I would say is I have a bit of a reputation of being a corporate governance specialist. And I think I'd take exception to any thought that I'd be entering into a run or a race for contesting the chair of this group if I felt there's any conflict of interest at all. I know the rules of engagement as far as platinum sponsors are concerned. I'm not personally involved in the sponsorship activities, but yes, you're right to raise, Camilla, that it's the Links Group company that supported the business group over a number of years. But I would take exception to any suggestion that there was a conflict of interest relating to the rules of engagement between a voluntary committee position and the continuance of that platinum sponsorship, and I suspect the membership would agree with that.
Alan McCready from Spencer. In your message today, David, that you put out, or I received it this afternoon, you mentioned that the British Business Group in Dubai does face a number of challenges in the period ahead. You didn't expand very much on what those were in your message, but would you like to take this opportunity to say what you believe those are and how you might address those?
Business in the UAE currently isn't as good as it used to be. The opportunities in Dubai in particular, where we are in the Northern Emirates, are less now than they have been for a long time. We're not going through a recession. People are still making money and still doing business, but I see it from the number of new companies coming in, the number of people going out, the amount of liquidations my company does, the amount of mergers we're not doing, the amount of startups and where they're coming from. People are out there surviving. There's quite a few people, and I'm sure there's people in this room, finding it hard to get paid, finding it hard to get their invoices paid by government organisations. And that's a challenge. The other challenge, I believe, is, and I think this was highlighted last year, the BBG there's always been a divide within the BBG between a younger element and an older element. We managed to shake off that old boys network a long time ago. But there is still a distinctive division between the what I call the old guard, if you like, and the new people coming in. And it's necessary that we have that, because one feeds off the other. But I do believe that there is a time where perhaps in this particular region, I'm not talking about anybody else, longevity is credibility. When you go, as you know yourself, when you go into the ruler's office in Sharjah, You're there because you've been there for 30 years. And I do the same thing in family offices in Ras Al Khaimah or whatever. So we need, and when John was talking about the voice, yes, we have a voice. And that voice is those people who can actually knock on the ruler's door and say, hi, I'm David. Not that I do, but that's the philosophy. And I think there are challenges to that as well.
I concur with David on all those points. Absolutely right. And there are challenges. You know, we have there's a future clear uptick in economic activity as we move forward. I think when I was talking about the voice of authority, that's a bit of a sort of a highfalutin way of saying making sure that our extremely talented membership, whether it's committee or the members themselves, really do have a voice within local government here, with things like changes to companies law that are going on, or attraction of UK business to build up to this 25 billion new target. I don't believe it's the role of the BBG committee to act as a quasi-trade body to attract business into the region. I believe there are sophisticated trade bodies within the membership that should be doing that, either private companies, the DIT itself, formerly UKTI, or the British Centres for Business, which was set up by the British Business Group and recently released into their own private sector model. But there are a number of companies within the membership where real specialists exist, including my own business. And hopefully that isn't a conflict either. There are many businesses that attract foreign, but particularly UK business and trade into this region. And when they're here, I believe that the group should be opening those doors to assist the membership once they're on the ground here. I'm not in favour of focusing efforts and expenditure outside the country. I think the effort needs to be made for members, from what I've picked up from members over the last few weeks of speaking to them about the future of the BBG. It's the membership here that needs assistance rather than outside.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alison Hubbard from Pinsent Masons. Thank you both for your interesting insights into how you would take the roles forward. I would actually, just picking up on something that John just mentioned about the connections that you've been developing back into the UK, David. Can you elaborate a little bit on how that benefits the membership here on the ground, please?
Okay, if we take let's take the Milton Keynes Business Leaders Partnership MOU. That particular city was identified by the Department of International Trade as a smart city, and one that they wanted to develop a relationship between the UK, Milton Keynes, and the UAE. It's on their agenda, it's on their list. The idea being is that Emiratis from the UAE will go to Milton Keynes to look at investment opportunities, and businesses from Milton Keynes will come here, setting up businesses here and developing relationships between them and our members. Now that's the first model. It's not the be-all and end-all. There are actually 10 cities that we're looking to do that. And I think business coming from outside has got to generate business coming from inside. The other thing is, and I'll pick up on what John just said, the UK-UAE Business Council, on which the chairman of the BBG sits, were recently asked by the Department of International Trade to go out to its members to ask them for their comments, clauses, requirements for the new Gulf Trade Agreement. The DIT are having to renegotiate or look for agreements around the world after Brexit, and they've asked us to assist. Now, I haven't gone to the membership yet because we're waiting for the next meeting on the 16th of May in London to solidify that. But you were talking about our companies. You're absolutely right. We have got people here who've been doing trade agreements in the UAE with other countries who can absolutely assist the Department of International Trade in UK on the nuances and the minute parts of an agreement here. So we will be going out, and that will actually happen. And it's the first time in this scenario that the private sector, which is the BBG in Dubai, has been asked to provide that information to a government ministry. As far as the BCBs are concerned, they are a government-funded organisation. It was set up by the British business groups a few years ago. They've been sold on. They're still there. We support them as a group, but I don't believe, seriously don't believe, that their approach to business is what we should be doing. I don't believe that we should, as a BBG, we've often been called this, I mean, I've been told this, that we should just stick to being in Dubai. Just don't do anything else. Don't rock the boat. Don't go outside. Just have a few events, look after the business community and the members, and leave it at that. Leave the government to do everything else. The reason that we're going out to places like the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce is because the government in UK can't do what we can do. We're a private sector business. We're not a government business. And that makes a huge difference, especially to people coming out here.
John, you've expressed your views, but more comments?
Yeah. Could I just? We're not a private sector business, David. We're a membership group that exists for the members and run by the members. And it should be creating, in my view, an environment that gives every member of the BBG a fair crack of the whip for some of the business opportunities here on the ground in the area in which we operate. We're not a trade body to attract businesses from other parts of the world, including the UK. That's not the role and constitution of the BBG, or sorry, not constitution, the strategy of the BBG. It's to open up the opportunity for all members. Anyone that was at the Queen's birthday party at the embassy last week, if I may just add John O'Here, Paul Fox, Her Majesty's Consul General, made a very sort of compelling speech and told us all about how actually British companies, very large British companies, we know who they are doing very, very well here as far as winning contracts and business to do with Expo 2020. What about the rest of us? What about the BBG members, the backup services, the consultancy businesses, the service businesses that also need access? Where are those large British companies that are winning those contracts? Are they at the British Business Group events? No, they're not. They need to be engaged. Engagement and strategy, two words that I've been told by members in the last couple of weeks are words that are not to be used during committee meetings of the BBG because it reminds people of the previous chair. It's not on. Engagement and strategy is what the group's about for members, and I'm very passionate about that.
Just following on from, it's a question for both of you, but it kind of follows on quite nicely from what John finished with. Over the last 12 months, attendance at events has fallen. You just need to look here tonight compared to how busy it was last year. What would either of you do in the next 12 months? What would you do differently to try and, now, short of saying get people engaged, what does that mean? What are you going to do to increase attendance at events?
Shall I start with that as it sort of segued from what I was talking about there before? Thanks, Paul. As far as event attendance are concerned, it's back to engagement with the members, and there has to be relevance for engagement by the members. That's another word that I picked up over the last couple of weeks as to relevance of events. The British Business Group is not simply an event company. It's very important to the business because it adds value and brings surplus into the business to be able to do lots of other exciting things. And we mustn't fall behind, this isn't a negative story about how poorly the British Business Group are doing. It's a marvellous group. It's the region's leading business-to-business group. But as far as, back to your question of how do we encourage more events, it's, I think, the focus with the focus chairs, for example, formerly called the special interest groups, is not just about bums on seats for events to get the fiscal value out. It's about relevance and opportunity to the members. I've been to a couple of absolutely fantastic events with the BBG over the last couple of weeks, a couple of the focus events, that have been real learning by experience events, which will encourage me, and I know others that have been, to other events like that. And I think we need to build up a reputation again of those events being relevant, not an event for an event's sake, to bring surplus into the group.
See, I don't agree that we haven't had that. I think that we've had some extraordinary events over the last year, and I think that the focus groups in particular was once described by Mark Beer as the jewel in the crown of the BBG, and I think they do a fantastic job. As for relevance, if you look at the events we've had, I can't think that any of them have been irrelevant. I don't think the issue here is relevance or engagement. I think the issue here is a sign of the times at the moment. Why isn't this room packed out? Ask people why there isn't 150 people here. The reason is because a lot of people who would have come to these events last year, when things were a little bit different, they're different now. And I think that we have to adapt. We have to look at what we do in a way that the members can understand that we are doing whatever we can to ensure that we provide quality events. Now, if we reduce the amount of events, we reduce the amount of surplus, and we reduce our status in terms of the number of events we have per year. As for getting attendance up, well, it's a phase that we're going through. We've been through it before. If you look at the history of the BBG, then you'll see that there is an up and down, there is a curve. It's not something that we can continue to do and build and get better events all the time. There's bound to be a period where that doesn't happen. And that's what we're going through now. But if you look at the people around us, and the people on the committee, and the focus group chairs, and the office, they're all doing absolutely their absolute hardest to address that issue.
Hi, Anna Buckley here from Vital Certificates. You touched earlier on like the younger generation and the older generation and how you've got rid of the old boys network. For me, I just want to know what you're going to do in the future to actually engage the younger generation and how you're going to develop that, because for me, I don't kind of see that.
I think we've already got there, to be honest. Seriously, I think there is a lot happening now. We talk about millennials and what they're doing. If you look around this room, I can tell you now, I doubt if there's anybody as old as I am in the room. And that's why I asked for another year, because at the end of that year, I'm done. The old boy network has gone, and John will remember when that was in place years ago, and it's finished. As far as the younger people are concerned, they're the future, if you like, and you know, there's a lot of them sitting here now. So what am I going to do? I'm going to leave it up to them, the younger people on the committee, to engage with them, because sometimes I don't even speak the same language.
John.
Yeah, I can't pretend to be anything else other than over 50 as well. So, but you're right, Anna. I think it's the chairman's role to ensure that the entire demographic of the business, British business community is represented, not just on the committee, but in the focus chairs and specific events that attract. I mean, I always think when you talk about younger generation, I tend to automatically think of tech and digital and this sort of thing, because you know that's what's growing, you know, day by day. It hasn't overtaken us yet, David, but you know it moves fast, and I think we need to make sure, you know, there's a real move by, in my day job, we work quite closely with the Foreign Investment Office of the DED, and you know, one of the words they used with me last week, which I really didn't like about the BBG, or the question they asked was, well, you know, is it relevant? And they brought up the tech and digital sector, and I thought, well, yeah, really relevant to our group. So, you know, maybe there's an opportunity there to encourage members that have far more knowledge about that particular sector than the sitting or future chair. So I think it's a question of encouragement and just being broad enough. And you know, David certainly is. I think we both hold the same view that you know that it exists within the membership, but let's encourage it as we move forward. So I think,
there is one thing about Milton Keynes, and it has been identified as a smart city. And I was there in January, and the tech companies that are there are phenomenal. But not only the tech companies are coming here, Cranfield University are already here. And they want to develop the relationship through the BBG when they arrive. There are huge amounts of tech organisations that are looking to expand, that have got to the point now where they want to come here. And that's good for everybody.
But David, within our group, there are tech and digital companies that want the opportunity that already exists in this market. And the opportunity that, as you rightly said earlier, is becoming tighter for everybody. I think we need to look a little bit inwardly to our current group and provide something for our membership in those sectors, rather than, and leave the professionals to go outside to bring the business in. I know it's an important UK-UAE trade agreement, without a doubt. But the group, back to what is the group about? It's a membership organisation run by the members for the benefit of the members. And you know, there are tech and digi and millennial companies within our group that I think, you know, we're perhaps not finding local opportunities for them. And that's our role, I believe, as a BBG committee.
Which I agree in part but I don't agree that we should not develop outside of the UAE.
Agreed.
I don't believe that when you say there are professionals that do that, I believe everybody in this room is a professional business person. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. The BBG is about professionalism. And as far as the opportunities here, then the time when people take up those opportunities is when there's good competition. Amongst ourselves, somebody comes in. I think it's all relevant that what we do needs to make sure that there is sufficient fresh ideas, fresh innovation coming here that puts everybody on the same playing field.
I think we have fresh innovation within the group that we need to nurture and present opportunities to.
Following on from the question, and just to play devil's advocate, do you believe the current structure of the BBG is fit for purpose going into the age that we're going into?
I'll answer this first. Yes, I do believe the structure is fit for purpose. I think it will naturally develop as it has over the last number of years that both David and I have been involved with the group. So it will continue to evolve. The structure is right, but it's back to that point, and I make no apology for repeating it again. It's a membership group run by members for the benefit of the members, not for the benefit of individuals, and not necessarily to become suddenly a trade body attracting business from elsewhere. That is not the strategy of the group, but I do believe it's fit for purpose, absolutely.
David?
The BBG in Abu Dhabi, which is a quarter of the size of the BBG in Dubai, has over 20 committee members. I think it's 24, something like that. We have 12. We have the two top jobs, the two top positions, chairman and CEO, deputy chairman and COO. I believe that the first thing, at the opportunity, we should split those roles so that there are more people to take the load, so that there are more people who can assist. At the moment, the Constitution is quite clear, but constitutions can be changed with the members' permission. So I think we should look at that, definitely. As far as the structure is concerned, I'd like to do a lot more, but we are guided. We have restrictions on what we can do. Our restriction in terms of office staff is how much money we've got to pay them. So we have got limitations. But I think the structure at the moment is fit for purpose, but it could be better, and there could be more people involved.
Gentlemen, would you like to make a closing statement? No longer than 20 seconds, please.
No. I think you probably heard enough from me. I've made my point. If I say that again, that we're a members' organisation run by members for the benefit of the members, you'll never forgive me. So that was it. Thank you.
David?
Yes, for the people, by the people, isn't it? Yes, isn't that it? I just reiterate, I need another year to finish the job that we've started. That's it.
Thank you for your attendance, and thank you to the two contenders.